Hey guys, in this video, I'm going to show you how you can boost your profit margins in your restaurant, your sales in your restaurant, and also have more free time with your restaurant, all by using 3 simple changes that you can do right now in your business that will work for any restaurant, guaranteed. Let's face it, the restaurant industry ever since COVID has just been getting harder and harder and harder. Costs are up, it's harder to find great employees now, the time spent in the business has often increased for most owners, and the margins just keep going down and down and down. But let me tell you, it doesn't have to be that way. I'm Andrew Scott, the founder of Ownershift, and I used to be exactly where you guys are, working in the restaurant, working 80 plus hours a week, feeling like the restaurant was running me, and knowing that I was never going to have the life that I wanted with the business that I had right now. But I'm going to show you 3 tricks that I used to actually get my restaurant profit margins to 15%. In fact, 26% was my highest ever monthly profit percentage. And I'm going to show you how I was able to do that with my restaurants, all while keeping my work week below 35 hours. When I first got into the restaurant industry, I thought I was going to be making $100,000 a year, working 20 hours a week, and life was going to be amazing because, that's what business owners do, right? They make all the money and don't have to work all that hard. And then I realized that nothing could be further from the truth. So when I started, I was hemorrhaging money and I ended up having to work 80, 100-hour weeks just trying to save on labor because I couldn't afford to pay as many employees as I would like to. I remember missing holidays and Christmas, and I just remember struggling and thinking like, how am I ever going to make this work? And even after I figured some things out, things got a little bit better. I went from 1 to 2, and then when I got to 3 locations, I was actually even almost in a worse spot because then the sales were there and there was some profit there, but then I just ended up in a position where I was still working so hard. And I'm like, how come I have all these locations and I'm actually working more than when I had one? I thought this was supposed to solve it all. So I got to the point where I realized working harder wasn't the answer because with 4 locations, no amount of hours I could work would ever make a dent in all of the labor percentages for those 4 locations because everything I did was divided by 4. So I realized that I had to do something different. I had to have better systems. I had to make changes in the business that were going to make a big enough change. And once I started doing that, with some of the stuff I'm going to show you today, I was actually able to get my life back. I was able to get my business back on track. I was then able to share what I was doing with the franchise that I was a part of. I started training their franchisees and their corporate team. And since then, I've taken these same tools and resources that I created, and I've been able to help thousands of restaurant owners all throughout North America and even in the UK as well, basically have better lives, have more sales, more profits, and they have been able to finally get their lives back too. So, all right, guys, so let's get started. So I'm going to start with the finances because that seems to be one, especially as margins erode and costs go up, that we seem to be getting squeezed on the bottom line. So basically, I have terrible drawing, but I'm going to draw this out for you. So there's 3 main components of restaurant finances that I focus on to tell me where the biggest issue is in the business. So let me just lay this out for you. So number 1, we have to look at our rent, or if you own the building, you have to look at your occupancy cost. So basically, as a percentage of your sales on a monthly basis, we want that percentage to be somewhere in the neighborhood of 6 to 10%. If you're a full serve restaurant, that should be closer to 6 to 8%. If you're a quick serve restaurant, that can be kind of 8 to 10%. So here's the thing you need to know. I always start with this one because if your rent as a percentage of your sales is higher than this, what I would often say is that you actually need more sales because no matter how low you drop your prime costs, you can't drop your rent. Your landlord's not just going to give you, half price rent for the next few years while you figure things out. Rent needs to get paid, right? And so if your rent is sitting at 12, 15, 20%, you need to grow your sales. So that's where you should start if that is you. Now, easy way to do this is just take your monthly rent and divide it into your sales per month. That'll give you your percentage. Now, the next piece of this is your food and your labor costs. Now, when you put these together, we call it prime costs. And basically, just in case there's any questions, food costs is everything that's used to send the food out to the customer. So if you're doing takeout, that is all the packaging included. Labor is both front and back of house. And in fact, you should include your management. And if you are working in the business, you should also include your salary in there. And if you're not paying yourself a salary, you should find out what you would normally pay someone to do the same position that you're doing. Add that in there so you get a true depiction of what things are. Now, this number should be about 55%. Now, this seems like a really low number for a lot of people. Most people don't know how to get it there, and that's okay. That's basically what we teach people to do. Most restaurant owners have numbers in the 70s and 80s when they add their food and labor costs combined. Now, the reason why this is important, and the reason why we start with this one, because most people come to me and say, Andrew, I just need to market my business more. I just need more sales. But here's the thing. If you start marketing your business and say you were able to add $10,000 to your sales, but your prime costs are at 80%, that means out of that, you only keep $2,000. And it probably costs you more than $2,000 to actually get that bump in revenue. So you're busier, but you're not actually growing your bank account as much. So here's our strategy of what we do instead. If your prime cost is usually above 60-65%, because 60-65 is where it's passable. Obviously, it needs some work, but it might not be the biggest issue. If it's above that, so if you're above 65%, what needs to happen is we need to put all of our effort into bringing that down, because $1 saved of an expense drops directly to your bottom line. So all of a sudden, if you were able to drop 10% in your prime cost, say you're doing $100,000 a month or something like that, just for easy math, 10% in prime cost is $10,000, right? It's a massive savings. And so a penny saved is a penny earned, as they say. So we're actually able to take that expense. Once we eliminate some of it, we drop it down to the bottom line. That actually gives you cash, which then you can do things like hire more employees if you need to. You can pay people better if that's something that you need to do. You can hire leadership, or you can take that money and roll it over into the marketing as well. But you can only do those things once you actually have some money, and you can only have some money once you actually run a lean restaurant. Because I can tell you that I've never seen a really profitable restaurant that has prime costs that are above 70%. I just have not seen it. Okay. So knowing that, one little thing I want you guys to know is that let's just compare the difference in between a 50% prime cost restaurant and a 75% prime cost restaurant. The difference is that in order to make the same net profit, the one at 75% has to do double the sales. Literally double. Now, I have a video that goes more in depth on this on my YouTube channel. It's called How to Have a 25% Profit Margin. So watch that video. It goes into depth, breaks down the numbers even more. But what you need to know is if your prime cost is above 65%, because that's kind of our red flag area, anything above that's a red flag, you should focus on that. Or if your rent instead is above what I've outlined here, 10, 11%, if it's above that, you should focus on growing your sales. So that's where to know where to go and just how to understand your restaurant finances a little bit better. A couple other things. If you don't have a bookkeeper, get a bookkeeper. You're a business, you're not running things out of your home anymore. You need to actually have data to be able to know your numbers. And if you don't have a system or a tool for that, there is a weekly tracker that we have. You can find that on my YouTube channel as well. There's a little download you can do. So check that out. So we're looking at restaurant finances. One of the people we worked with actually was Mike from Arizona. We were actually able to bring his prime cost from 72% down to 61%. And that actually added $12,975 to his bottom line, to his bank account per month, just by making those changes. And so when I say that it's the easiest way to put more cash in your bank account, I mean it, because we have done this with literally like 1,000+ clients. So every time we do that, they've got more money in their bank account, then they can focus on growing their sales. So now, once we do actually get the finances figured out, the next thing that happens is people are still stuck in the business, even though they're making more money. Maybe their sales have gone up because they don't have the right team in place. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to draw another triangle. So basically, there's 3 core things that I think restaurant owners can improve right now. And so I'm going to go through them. So one is the application process. So application and job ad. And yes, my writing is terrible. My clients just love me for my terrible writing. Now, there's the job ad. Now, on this other side, there is past behavior questions. All right. And then down here, there's reference checks. So I'm going to cover these briefly for you. Okay, so when we look at the application and the job ad, so what I want you guys to know about that is most people put out job ads. They're like, hey, we're hiring X amount per hour. We serve this kind of food, must be on time, must be prompt, must be able to lift 30 pounds. Like I've seen these job ads, right? And most of the time when I look at those, I'm like, you're just telling people all the reasons why they shouldn't want to work there. Because if you're saying, hey, must smile, must be punctual, that just must mean that the staff you have don't do that. So why would I want to work there? If you're the best potential candidate, you're not going to go work somewhere where you don't have other high performers. So you actually want to use your job ads like marketing. You want to tell them why they should work there, because here's the deal. 10 years ago, having a job was enough. I want money, therefore I need a job. Well, today, there's enough jobs where people get to pick and choose where they work. They can be more selective about what they want to do. There are different ways to make money today. So when we're looking at Gen Z and some of the younger workforce, like they can choose where they want to work. And if you're good, you have tons of different opportunities, right? And your restaurant may not be the best one right now. So here's the thing. If you have a below average pay scale, below average job ad, you're going to get below average candidates. That's just how it works, right? Because the best candidates are going to go to the best opportunities and you're going to get stuck with everything that's left, right? So a couple of things you can do is tell people why they should want to work for you. What are all the benefits? What kind of a culture are you building inside your business? And the question you need to ask yourself, would you want to work there? Right? And most owners will say, yes, of course I'd want to work here because we do this, we do this, we do this. We're awesome and we're like a family and all this kind of stuff. But then you look at their job ad, but the job ad doesn't say any of that. So how is someone supposed to know that you actually do all that and that they should want to work there, right? So hiring in the application and job ad phase is actually just like marketing. We have to treat it the same way. Now, we do have a sample job ad in our hiring playbook, so I think that's also on our YouTube channel as well. You can check that out. But then when we get to the interview, what we have to do is ask past behavior questions. Most of us just kind of ask simple questions. Hey, when are you available? What kind of experience do you have? So like just because someone's worked at another restaurant doesn't mean they were good, right? So let's use a customer service frame here for a second. One of the questions I love to ask is I'll ask people, hey, what was your most memorable customer experience at your last place of employment? I'd use whatever restaurant they worked at before. And there's a difference in between the person that says, well, this one time, like the customer's order got messed up and I gave them some extra fries to compensate. Okay, that's one answer. Then you get another lady who is like, hey, Billy comes in on Friday nights and he orders a turkey sandwich and he basically comes in every Friday because it's just after his shift and he works at the post office and he comes in, it's his like Friday night reward. He tells me all about it. And actually, one time I knew he was going through a tough time. And so I gave him an extra cookie or something like that I paid for just because I thought it would pick him up because, they were going through a postal strike or something like that, and so like, look at the detail and the depth between those two answers, right? And yes, I'm making this up off the top of my head, but realistically, people aren't going to be able to go into that much detail unless it's a pattern for them, because people will often redo and recreate the patterns that they had at other places of employment at your place of employment. So what we're looking for are people that actually have the same patterns naturally occurring that we want to have at our place, right? We don't want people to come in and say, well, I would be great at customer service if I had the opportunity. I want people that are already great at customer service, right? And have done it at their last 5 places of employment, because I know pretty damn well that they are going to be good at customer service with me. That's what I'm looking for, is I'm looking for patterns in their past behavior. And so if there's a commonality in their past behavior, that's what we should be looking for. Okay. Now, the other side is reference checks. And people say, Andrew, I don't even do reference checks because nobody ever tells me the truth. And like, there's nothing, that's gained of any value. And so a couple things I say to that is I'm like, I get that, but we're not asking the right questions. So I'll come to that in a second. But number 2, every time we hire someone, we're spending on average $1,000 to $1,500 by the time we spend putting out ads, paying Indeed, by the time we sit in these interviews, because our time costs something. And then all of a sudden, by the time we hire someone, go through the onboarding, go through the training, the mistakes they make, the potential issues, like all of that costs money. We're making like $1,000 to $1,500 bet on each person that we hire. And most people are just interviewing for 20 minutes and not even doing reference checks. Like, I'm pretty sure that the last time you spent $1,500, you probably did more research on what you're buying, right? But we don't when it comes to hiring. So why is that? So that's something we need to change. So in reference checks, one of the things that we need to do is we need to read between the lines. So let me give you an example about this. So say we ask, hey, was this person punctual? And the person says, yes, they were punctual. versus, oh yes, Billy was always on time, always came in early for his shift, always was ready promptly to go at work whenever we needed him. Actually, this one time I called him in early and he was already there. Two different answers. You can tell the detail because the people that have great references will often not stop talking about that person, and they'll give you more detail than necessary. Where anytime I've ever taken a bad reference call, I haven't said anything bad because I don't want to disparage the person, but I will typically not say a whole lot. I'll be like, yep, they were okay. They were good. Right? And I'll end in a downtown. So what we need to do is we need to read between the lines when we are doing reference checks. Because if you can do that, you can really kind of get the sense of what was really going on. Because if they're really that great, a question that I love is, like, what was it like when they left? How did you feel when that person left? And most of the time people say, oh my God, like, I was so sad. Like I was really angry and frustrated at first because they were a key player on our team. And, like we had a really hard time replacing them. That's what I want to hear. Right? As opposed to like, oh, it was okay, like there's two different levels of answers there. And so we need to be like the detective that's listening to figure out which one of those is the most accurate. So if we follow these things, if you have a better job ad, you ask better questions in the interview, actually go more in depth, and you do reference checks, all those things together will get you better people in your business. And let me tell you, when you have better people in your business, you don't need to micromanage as much. They're better, right? And so you actually spend less on labor because the better caliber people are also more efficient. So it actually helps bring down your labor cost as well. Hey, real quick, if you're a multi-unit restaurant owner or you're looking to become one, I've identified the 3 deadliest mistakes that are killing most restaurants right now. And more importantly, I'll show you how to avoid these exact mistakes. Just grab my free copy of the Multi-Unit Restaurant Playbook by going and clicking on the link in the description below. Inside, you'll discover my proven system for building a restaurant empire that runs on autopilot and the mistakes you must avoid if you want to stay profitable and scalable. So get the free playbook and transform your business today. So one thing I remember is Camille. Now, Camille is an example, just one, because I know we've had, hundreds of these examples, but Camille's one that sticks out to me because she was always in the kitchen. She was always working, like whenever we first started and had our calls and stuff like that. And then eventually what happened was she was able to use some of these tactics. She was able to bring some more good people in. She was able to get herself out of the business, and she was actually able to finally take a 7-day vacation. First vacation she had taken ever since she owned the business, and finally was able to take a 7-day vacation. I remember getting the pictures from her. And it's just those types of changes that allow you to actually live your life and have the employees there so your business can actually run without you being there all of the time. And so now the next topic we're going to cover is marketing. And so let me draw another triangle, which I know you guys are absolutely loving at this point. There's really only 3 ways to get more revenue in a restaurant. So we always focus on new customers as owners because we're like, oh, I just need more new customers. That solves everything, right? So there's new customers, but there's also 2 other ways. We can also get people to return more frequently. So take your existing customers, and basically what we can do is get them to return more frequently. And then we can also get people to spend more. All right, so let's do a couple examples of this, because here is the kind of trick to this one, is that getting people to come in more frequently and getting them to spend more doesn't really cost you anything, right? So let me ask you guys a question. How many people that are either servers in your business or that are at a cash, if you have a quick service model, how many of them are upselling 100% of the time exactly the way that they should be? The answer in your head is probably like, well, not everyone. Okay, fair enough. So then we have something we can improve on, right? Because you could be upselling different products. You could actually do competitions with your team to actually get people to buy more. Because let me tell you this, if you were able to add, you say $3 or $4 to every check that happened, your business would be totally transformed. $3 or $4, if your average check went up by that, would be totally transforming. Now, let me ask you another question. So what if you never got another new customer ever again, but all of your customers came in twice as often? How would that affect your business? You would double your business because even though you don't have any new ones, they come in twice as much. So therefore, it would double your revenue. So how come we put all of our focus on new customers and we don't put enough focus on this one or this one? Because they actually can contribute to even more of a difference in your bottom line, in your business, right? So how do we get people to come in more frequently? How do we get them to spend more? So we always want to have some bounce back options. We basically want to be talking about the next visit. I always look at this like we're always selling the next visit, even when we're at the current visit. So, whether we're handing them something at the end or a reason to come back, letting them know about upcoming promotions, or we're just talking to them about other ways that they could potentially order. So there could be a cross-sell opportunity. Maybe they're going to do some catering. Maybe, it's near the holiday season and they've got upcoming orders for that, right? Maybe there's gift cards for their staff members. Who knows? Like there could be a bunch of different things, but my guess is that most of our teams are not even thinking about that stuff. So none of it actually materializes. So I think that's something that everybody should do and make it even better for the restaurant. But if we're going to talk about new customers, there's a few different things you need to know. So number one, most people think that just by posting on Facebook and Instagram, it's going to blow the doors off their business, right? They're going to post like, a couple times a week and all of a sudden it's going to be a flood of new customers. Well, it doesn't really work like that. So when we're looking for new customers, we do need to have a paid ad strategy because Facebook and Instagram are now mature platforms, which means they're trying to monetize as much as possible. So to play the game, we do need to spend a little money. I do not recommend boosting posts. The reasons why is because we want to have a strategy that actually will give people a reason to come in and visit, but we also want to do something different. We also want to be getting their phone number, and we also want to be getting their email at the same time. Now, the reason why we want to be doing that is because once we have their phone and their email, we then don't need to go and spend as much on social media because we can then send them a text or we can send them an email, which are way less costly than paying Facebook and Instagram for those eyeballs to see your stuff again, right? So once we have them, it's what's called owned media. So we basically own their contact information and we can then use it and we can market to them, right? And so most restaurants, they sometimes will have this data in a loyalty program, but they don't really use it very often, right? Let me ask you this. If you had 10,000 phone numbers and you send out a text with a great offer to boost your lunch business, do you think you could get some redemptions from it? Absolutely, yes. We actually had one customer that did this, was having a slow week, put out a little offer. He only had like 2,000 contacts, I think, and literally added $1,000 in business, just like that. And it cost him like $5 to do it for, the cost for the text messaging. So like it cost him next to nothing to do it, but added so much. And so what we want to do is make sure we're adding as many tools at your disposal as you can. So now when we're looking for new customers, a couple of different ways you can do it. So again, ads are one way. Make sure we're getting their phone numbers and their emails while doing it. There's also your traditional like mail outs, you can usually use like radios and other more expensive one. I generally don't recommend that a lot. But there's also things like guerrilla marketing. And so when I talk about guerrilla marketing, I mean the things that are more in your face. You're kind of on the ground. You're going to community events. You're literally going out in your own parking lot. Say you're in a shopping plaza or something like that. You're going out and actually talking to potential customers, giving them a reason to come in. You're going out and giving away a free catering order to people as well, just to try and let them know about your business, giving them a reason to come in. All of these tactics together, they don't cost very much, but they're extremely effective. The issue is that most of us did this when we did our grand opening, but we never did it again. Why not? Right? Because we want to take the same emphasis we put on our grand opening and we want to continue that throughout the lifetime of our business. Because here's the thing, the best restaurants out there, they don't just do one of these. They don't just do a mail out. They don't just send out a text all the time. They don't just have a little frequency offer. The key is that they actually do all of these and they do them all consistently, so that not only are they getting money from people coming back more frequently, not only are they getting people spending more and upselling every time they come in, they're also getting new customers from a bunch of different ways, from being involved in the community, from building their catering program. Maybe they're doing school lunches. Maybe they're adding a different day part. Maybe you're open for lunch and dinner. Maybe you're adding breakfast. There's a bunch of different ways that you can add revenue for your business that usually we aren't focused on because we are so focused inside the business that we don't have time to actually go after the thousands and thousands of dollars per week of revenue that's sitting right in front of us, just on the other side of a little bit of effort. So when we talk about marketing, there's a few things you can do really easily. These ones are the easiest ones to do. They're very simple to do, very quick to execute. But to get new customers, it's a little bit more in depth, but well worth it when you can do it. And so just an example of this, we actually had Josh in Texas. He implemented our system. I still get his text messages actually, even though I'm not in Texas. And we were able to take his gross sales from 48,000 to 78,000. And he's seeing consistent growth now, week over week, month over month, which is amazing to see. Because I remember when I first met him, he was struggling. It was him and his dad on the call with me. And they had this business as a family business, had it forever. And they just weren't seeing the kind of profits and they weren't seeing the growth that they wanted to. And after working on all of these things, they're now finally seeing that growth. And he now has a much better work-life balance than he ever did before. So I just want to share a few things with you. Now, I've talked about marketing, I've talked about hiring, I've talked about finances, but we actually have a program that encompasses all of these things and more that helps take restaurants from struggling, not having the sales they want, not making money in some cases, or low profit percentages, up to 15, 20% profit percentages, and also having the time freedom that they need. So we have a few examples of this. So Kalila and Jason, they actually increased their daily sales. They're doing like $800 a day. We actually got them up to $4,000 a day, which again, I can't guarantee for everyone, but we definitely did it for them, and that made a huge impact on their bottom line. Renee's business actually almost runs on autopilot now, which is great. I remember she was working 80 plus hours a week originally when I met her. Mike, as I mentioned earlier, added almost $13,000 per month to his business while cutting his hours in half. He actually just took the family to Alaska for a vacation not too long ago. And actually, he and I met up and did some scuba diving together, which was a lot of fun. So these aren't exceptions. They're the results that we see time and time again using the Restaurant Freedom Formula. So if these three changes make sense to you, basically here's our strategy that we use with the people we work with. So number one, we start to bring their prime costs down. We want to bring them down to a reasonable level. We take the money that we save them, it drops right to the bottom line. Then we take that money. Step number two is we roll it over into the marketing. So then we're starting to grow the top line and the bottom line at the same time so they can start to see positive sales growth, which a lot of people have struggled with lately, right? And so then once we've done those things, we start to work on the internal operations, the training, the hiring, the operations. And so we get in there and actually build a sustainable structure for the business so that you can actually have the work-life balance that you want and get the business that runs without you being there 80 plus hours a week, right? So we've done this in cities all across the US, like Miami, New York. We've done this in LA. We've also done it in small towns too, like Alliance, Ohio. There's actually this one place in Indiana that has more like Amish horse and buggies than cars. We've done it in just about every place that you can imagine, me and my team. Everything from quick serve to full serve to mom and pop to franchises. And the best part here is that we actually guarantee our results. So if you do everything that we tell you to do, you implement everything, and your sales don't increase and your profits don't go up dramatically, we'll work with you for free until they do. Does that sound fair enough? If you're ready to increase your sales and your profit margins while working fewer hours, just fill out the little application that's below here and you can meet with me or one of my coaches. And basically what we're going to do is get you a clear path of action. We're going to take a look at your numbers. We're going to take a look at what's going on in your business and basically identify the biggest thing that needs to move in your business to get you more money in your bank account, to get your margins up, your sales up, and get you freed up from the business, and we'll put that in place. So just apply below and schedule a call, and we'll see you on the other side. This episode is brought to you by Ownership Training, where we help restaurant owners increase their profits while spending more time with their family. And if you want to know exactly what it would take to grow your profit margin to 15% and beyond while spending more time with your family, my team has a few spots open this week for a free 15-minute restaurant assessment call. Just click the book a call link in the description and we'll show you the exact frameworks we're using to help our clients do this in as little as 6 to 8 weeks. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you on the next episode.